Welcome to another high value conversation. Today we're going to have Okla Jones on. He's a writer for Essence Magazine and many publications, and I want him to come on and kind of talk about art. We're going to have a great discussion today about art and the soul and the way that art is produced. And so I'm going to go ahead and invite him in right now, and then we'll get the conversation started. Here, if y'all have any questions while we're having the discussion or any comments, please feel free to add it. And thank y'all for being up so early in the morning.
Good, good.
Oakland, my man.
Chilling, man. You know, how you doing?
What's up, my brother? I'm doing great, man. It's a pleasure to have you on this morning. I don't know if our audience knows, some people know, we've been friends for so long that the age that we became friends.
I think I was in 7th grade. Either I was in 6th grade, you was in 7th grade. I was in 7th grade, you was in 8th grade. And I remember we met through a mutual friend. Shout out to Daryl. I don't know how he's doing, but I remember when I first met you, I didn't like you. Yeah, I didn't like you at first. I was like, man, who this dude? But what ended up happening was it was one day all our friends were doing something, and like me and you kind of just bumped into each other on the street or whatever. We just hung out that day, and we just been cool ever since, man. I was like, this dude cool, he not who I thought he was. So yeah, you know.
I know that. I thought we was always cool.
2 weeks. It wasn't like a long time.
I've had somebody tell me that before when I was working at it was like, you just walk around like you better than everybody else. I was like, yeah, but you said it. Like, what did I do that to you, or am I just confident? You know what I mean? And like you said, once we get cool, we've been cool now 25 some years, And it's amazing to watch your growth, brother. Like, because we've come from playing basketball and football in the streets. We got some really funny stories about hanging out at your house, and, when we were younger. And but what I like to do is I like to dive right in, and I want to ask you, about your experiences right now. And I really want to have this great conversation with you about art. And you're a writer. You host at Essence Festival in New Orleans. You write for Essence, write for magazines. You do articles online. Like, it's been beautiful to watch you grow into such an expressive person with a valued opinion in this space, and becoming that in a non-traditional way. So we're going to dive into part of your story. But first, I want to ask you, as a person with a very rich opinion about many types of art, music, TV, visual arts, what do you think gives art its value?
It goes both ways. Like, from the standpoint of like visual art, as an artist, you can set your price point, would be financial value. You can set your price point, the market, and also your notoriety, and the viewer actually can determine your financial value and everything. When it comes to emotional and sentimental value, the artist definitely can paint or create from a place where they can set value on, and also too, it can resonate. See a thing with red in it, it's not mean anything to you, but for me, I'm a my color is red. It might resonate with me from like different perspectives. So it really depends on the viewer. I think that's the beautiful thing about art too. It's extremely subjective. You can look at something and hear something. It'll resonate different with one person than it would.
I think that's awesome. I mean, I fully agree with you, especially on the the receivership of experiencing the art. I think in addition to that, the thing that can be also found valuable in art is where the artist is coming from. And I think that is kind of like what we're going to dive into as we go on, is from the individual human, the soul, like just where their music comes from, where that song comes from, what they were thinking about a painting, because paintings can have like a story behind it, or books are art, right? Writing. And I think for me personally, like, I've written a book, I played saxophone, and I was always naturally gifted at drawing, so I was able to, even though I'm a business person and stuff, like, art is really a part of
Mm-hmm.
like who I am as a creative individual, and it comes out in a lot of my work. Like I do a lot of my own graphics. I pick some of my music for my videos. I like using, Photoshop and stuff like that, even for my kids or for my making my own flyers. Sometimes, I want to give it to my staff. I kind of want to have that experience myself. So I think that a lot of the value comes from, the individual, like you said, the particular artist and their skill level and stuff. But that human part, I think that connection between the artist and the viewer kind of comes
No,
through in
I
that
agree,
human
man. I
element,
agree. And art is just a beautiful thing, man, because
where,
something beautiful could, be ugly to somebody else too. And I just think, that's dope, in my opinion.
yeah, I also like how in the individual nature, it's like you go into, I just
Okay.
came from the Oklahoma City Art Museum probably 2 weeks ago. And I always like bring my kids there and stuff, over the years that they change exhibits and everything. And I remember walking in this one exhibit, and it was a guy. It was a video of a couple sleeping. It was just called Sleep, and it was a video of them sleeping. But when you walked in the room was blacked out, and then the picture, I mean, the video was running on the floor, and you kind of sit on the and like look at them, right? And it was just like a couple in bed, over the course of a couple hours, like rolling around with each other, laying like. And I was like, bro, who thinks of this? You know, that's what love makes me love artists like, bro. It could be so far over there because you have no
Hmm.
idea what this person is even thinking. So let me ask you this. What inspires you to kind of express your ideas and experience with art? What makes you want to
Well,
share and kind of
you know me for a
do
long
what you
time. I've
do?
never been a big talker, but I'm real good at expressing myself, through writing and stuff like that too. So, um, it actually started in 2010, right after I graduated. Shout out to DJ Ali B too. When I got back to New Orleans, I was originally, trying to go to law school. That was the original plan, was to do law school. But, I started working at law firms and actually like talking to, young lawyers and stuff. And no disrespect to lawyers, but it wasn't for me. I was more of a, a lot of them were talking to me. The money was good, but they weren't really necessarily happy. So, I was always into history and the music and art and stuff like that. Because, like you, I used to draw a lot growing up. I went to NOCA for 2 years for visual arts too. So it was something that I really had enjoyed doing. But when I went to NOCA, you know, a place of inspiration with NOCA. They made us like do specific assignments and all that stuff, and I kind of lost the passion for the actual art aspect. But I still enjoy like viewing it, talking about it, writing about it and everything. So when I got back to New Orleans after I graduated from Hampton, I started writing for the website for DJ Abby B, her online website, and that's what kind of started the trajectory and all that stuff. And I just would go to different art exhibitions on the side, write reviews about it, interview artists and stuff like that because I still loved art and I still loved artists and all that stuff too. And that's when you really love something when you do it for free too. You know what I'm saying? I was doing everything for free for about 7, 8 years and everything like that. And I'm doing it now, and now I'm blessed enough to get paid for it too.
Man, wow. But you said something deep right there, bro.
Like
You
it was
said
like
you was doing
seven,
it
eight
for
years.
how
I was,
long for free?
had my
Just
nine to
doing like
five, and I was doing the writing stuff for free. I would get little gigs, like freelance gigs here and there, but it was like $50, $100, something like that. But I was doing it for free, man. I would literally go out to these art galleries. I would talk to the curators, talk to the owners. Can I take a picture of this? Can I talk to you about this? I'm gonna put it on my blog. I just was, and everything, but in that it wasn't for free. Would allow me to relationships about me entertainment.
man, I feel you on that journey because that's how I started in a lot of this, like going to meetings, actually almost almost taking a net
Mm,
loss, instead of
yeah,
for free, I was paying for stuff that I was learning couldn't do yet and probably wouldn't be able to do for 2 or 3 years while I was, getting my finances in order, man. But I still was, like you said, you start on a path that's passionate and then you keep going so that you could eventually be able to do what you want to do. Somebody, yeah, and Lauren just said true passion in the comments. Yeah, for real. That's how it go, man. Real passion. You got to be able to stick with it till, like you said, till we can live how we living now, talking to each other. You know, we go all the way back to me burning pizza rolls in your
We're
microwave.
gonna get to that story too, man, because there's actually a lot of stories like that. That's a fact.
Oh man, but to like to see your growth now and to see your journey. And I remember visiting you in Atlanta like periodically through this time frame, man. And it's just so beautiful. And I'm happy now to be able to talk to you, you know, as we are, you know, even more, you know, in this time of life and have this conversation. So let me ask you this too, like, I like to ask the kind of deep questions. Like, where do you think
So
like
it's
the best art
so funny. I
comes
was
from?
talking, and she's actually on the call right now. I think the best art comes from a negative place, like a negative emotional space sometimes too. Like when you think of, you know, the best that I like, you know, like your Marvin Gaye, your, you know, DMX, you know, that negative space, you know, that negative emotion would bring out the best art. Even if you go to the 60s, 70s, and all that stuff, those songs about heartbreaks used to be like the dopest songs, you know what I'm saying? Similar with, you know, with artists too, a lot of
Yeah,
artists when they're going through something in their personal life, or, you know, they have something like negative going on, that art, it kind of serves as, you know, therapy, a journal almost too, you know what I'm saying? So I think great art can come from a positive place as well too, but I think the best art comes from like a, you know, a negative emotional space, because it allows, you know, it's kind of cathartic for the artist. It allows them to get out that emotion, put it on canvas, you know, for an entertainer, you know, to put it on wax and everything like that. And I think the best art comes from a sad place most of the time, in my opinion.
I like I like that you put it like that first. Off guard with
Mm,
that one, and I take it, you know.
yeah.
But you know, I love Cole. Cole used to say when he was playing the game,
Mm,
you know, either a point of rage or he would say love to hate, you know. So he would be doing all these positive things, you know, and coming. He used to say like embrace the dark emotions, you know, don't run away from them and stuff. And I agree with you. Like, not so much that I 100% agree that it comes from a negative space, but what I do is like that's a human place, right? Like the irreplaceable part. Like, as you know, they have Chat GPT writing people's books, and they have, you know, AI created art and stuff. Yeah, it might be cool and it might be fancy and all that other stuff, but like, where is it coming from, right? It could be so technical. It could be so, oh, it took all the Picasso algorithms and made a better painting than Picasso. But like, do I care?
right.
What was the computer going through? You know what I'm saying? Was it suffering? Was it suffering?
Word.
Was it suffering from low battery? Like, was that what it was going through? You know? So I think like you're like, you know, to overall, what I feel like, you know, you're saying is, you know, good art comes from a place that is, you know, that's human and experience, like that triggers what you're doing, or an inspiration, right? That triggers what you're doing. I remember I won the Black History Art Contest in 12th grade at St. Aug. I drew a painting that actually hangs up above me right here. I mean, I drew a drawing that is above me right here of a baby being born on a slave ship. And, you know, the message behind it that it conveyed was like born into slavery, you know? And I just remember feeling that, because around that time was when, you know, I started kind of like having an awakening about what, you know, that what had happened in school. We weren't really kind of, you know, taught that in a young elementary sense, like kind of in the 90s. So like in the early 2000s, as these things started to become more apparent, I was like, wow, man, like that's deep. And it hit me in a place, you know, that I didn't know I have, just being a regular kid, chilling. You know, I was inspired to draw that, you know. I think even like you said with music, like some of the best
For sure.
albums used to kind of tell a story, you know, kind of I'm making all these songs out of an experience, you know, whether it's positive or negative emotions. And I think even nowadays, like some songs are missing that, right? Like I don't know what songs that they're gonna play on like the 2020s or the 20 teens old school
Yeah.
jam station. I don't know what's gonna be on there, but you could take a kid right now and let them listen to some Michael Jackson, or let them listen to Stevie Wonder. You know, like a 2-year old, he gonna start dancing around because like the horns are authentic, their experience in the studio is authentic, like where they're coming from is real. You know what I mean? As opposed to, you know, making a
Right.
package like that. I think that's why J. Cole resonates so much sometimes, right? Like, it seems like he making real music. He not producing songs like that, you know?
So, and I can agree with
You
that
think
too, man,
about it?
because when I actually think about it, it's like, when you say the statement about what music are we going to play in the 2010s and 2020s, I think there's some good, so, but a lot of it is R&B though, you know, because from a hip hop standpoint, I don't think, for everybody else, but I'm probably not gonna go back to a lot of it like that. You know, maybe your Coles, your Kendricks, and all that stuff, and of course you got Nas. But these are what Nas and Hov you call these like legacy artists and all that stuff. People like Stevie Wonder, they're legacy artists and all that stuff. But in terms of the new artists, maybe again because one person actually typed it in relatable experiences. I necessarily can't relate maybe to the experience. It don't resonate. It don't resonate to me. Not saying that the experience is good, better, or
Yeah.
worse than mine, no, but I don't. I resonate more, because I always tell people too. One of the greatest lyricists of all time, I feel like, is Juvenile, and some people laugh at me, but it's like because when I
Hey,
used to
for
listen to
what?
him
Why are
as
they
a
laughing at you?
child,
Huh?
he sounded good, but it didn't, like, as I got older,
Yeah,
these
take it
stories
back.
he used to tell, like, used to make sense when I got older, though. He was, so it really depends on, where you're from, the experience that the artist is talking about. So again, like art, everything, it hits different people in different ways, so I really can't say maybe 2020 and 20 years later, there might be some songs that I really go back to, but I still like artists like Kendrick, J. Cole, and stuff like that. So, but it's just from when I listen to my Spotify playlist, there's always a bunch of like 90s stuff, maybe early 2000s stuff. It's not really nothing new unless I really like the artist, So, a person, man, but there's a lot of good R&B that's coming out. Like your Jasmine Sullivan's, your Her, it's a lot of good like R&B artists right now too. So I would definitely go back, 20 years down the line to that. But in terms of rap, it's a different story, I feel.
That a lot of the good stuff, like you saying R&B stuff, because I think you talk about the I don't know if
This
you
is
know
that's a good
everybody's
one too.
name, but
Yeah.
like maybe like SZA or like Her, like um, I don't
Yeah,
know a
it's
dude. I
actually a
think his
group.
name
It's,
was like Division or
yeah,
something like
the
that. I
Vision
heard
is a
some of his
group.
like
It's just two. It's a singer and a producer. Yeah.
okay, is like those songs
Mm.
sound like old school right now, right? They have some soul, and I'm happy that the internet and like all these avenues are letting more of people be seen and more people be expressed. And there's so much a proliferation of like real art and real music, So I want to say maybe I'm wrong in the sense that like they're not having any more authentic music. But what I can say is I don't feel like it's mainstream. Like for instance, right now, you can't find nothing that sound like, how Brian McKnight or Boyz II Men or like, somebody being able to be like, man, I miss my woman. Like I really just miss you and I ain't tripping on like telling you I miss you and I want to see you and I'm gonna drive over there. You know what I mean? Like Avant, Carl Thomas, like like men expressing like a authentic love for their woman. Like you don't see that no more. And even like they're talking back to like Juvie and Cash Money and stuff is crazy because I would play that in the car with my kids, right? And they respect my mind, loud pipes, you know what I'm saying? We listening to that Wayne, that Juve, that Cash Money, and hey man, at first Marcus be like, man, like, what you listen to this old stuff for? You know what I'm saying? The other day we in the car, he like rapping all the lyrics. And what happened was, I think it was like Migos, and then one of his new artists, I think it's like Babytron or somebody like that, right? They reference Cash Money in their raps, and then they be used, and they asked Migos like, who inspired y'all? And it was like Cash Money. You know what I mean? So when he heard
Who
that,
is
he was like,
that?
oh,
Right.
now your stuff cool.
Right.
I was like, oh, it's cool because of them. Like they certifying it. I thought it was that old stuff. But yeah, man, I think it and even in writing right now, like I'm a big proponent of authenticity, man. So I was in environments, business wise, where people I didn't even know this existed, right? Like
Right.
like ghostwriting exists in music. I did not know ghostwriting existed in books.
Okay.
I didn't know. Yes, there are companies like for $10,000 something like that for like professionals. Like say you're a dentist or like a doctor or something like that. There's a concept now to a book as like a business card, right? You can be a published author, but all you gotta do is sit down for an interview, get some particulars, catch a couple stories, and then they'll write it for you. Even some of the celebrities are like that. Like a lot of them books, like I don't know for a fact, but some of the books like that, Kevin Hart, or like, I was seeing on Audible, like it was really more like it was coming out so fast. I was like, I've written a book, and with a lot of stuff that you got going on, there might be a co-author or some help there, And so, and I'm not saying anything's wrong with it. I'm just saying, like, for me, like, put the co-author name on there or something like that. Don't make it like this is my story, because the process of writing my book was long. Like, I started having the brainstorming ideas in 2013. The inspiration was authentic. Like you say, come from a negative place. The inspiration for even writing my book came from I started learning all these financial concepts that I felt like I should have been told earlier, and I couldn't understand why nobody was telling other people. Then I realized that because our culture is competitive financially, it's a dog eat dog kind of situation. But coming from where we come from, I felt like God had blessed me because I had been, how I was growing up. Then I was like a broke adult. Then I started learning this stuff, and I'm like, oh, it's like I have the ability to be able to talk in both lanes. Most people never cross over, right? And if they do cross over, it's like maybe because of their job or something like that. I crossed over like in the actual model that allows you to be wealthy, and I'm in these rooms that's like $15,000 a check, but because I'm like going with my dad, I'm sitting in here and it's like all these wealthy people in here. I could have never afforded to be in there. So I'm thinking like, man, God got me in here for a reason. Because I'm like in game and they like talking down about us. You know what I mean? Like, telling people like, oh yeah, you want a Section 8 tenant because, she always gonna be that shit. I'm like, hold up, bro, hold up. You know what I mean? So it started making, mad. And that's what made me be like, man, how can I really get this knowledge out? So thinking about making YouTube videos, thinking about, bro, I was like, nah, dog, like what stands the test of time, like hundreds of years and stuff? Books. And I wasn't even an author. Like I didn't go to school for grammar or nothing like that. I was just like, I'm gonna write this like from the soul to another soul because I'm writing to a person that I know what they feel like. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, negative experience. And that's what I wanted to do, and I wanted it to last. That's why I made it a hardback, because I thought to myself, like, man, books like this don't really get passed down in our families and our generations. But now if I write this, it could be on the shelf at a house and a kid could pick it up in the next generation. I didn't ever want to be the most best-selling book. I wanted to be the most recommended one, like where you was doing somebody a favor by giving it to them, and like now people got AI writing their books. They got, and so I'm just like, man, how do you feel about that now that like AI writing
It
articles
kind of
and stuff
depends, man.
about
I want to
finances?
actually go back, like, when you talking about like Kevin Hart and everything. Like, I don't that aspect. If the co-author is doing it correctly, like one of my favorite books is the autobiography of Malcolm X. You know what I'm saying? And it says as told to Alex Haley. So it's like, you had like in Charlemagne's book, a lot of these people that are busy, they don't really write their books. They might, have their writer with them all the time. They, and they're dictating what they want to put in the book and everything. And I know everybody doesn't have the particular talent for writing. So if, I don't mind if, your Kevin Hart, your Charlemagne's and all that stuff, particularly write it, because it might not, they might not come out because they speak well, but they don't, they might not know how to write though. So I'm not really particularly mad at that. But they do need to give that author credit though, like you said, because that's definitely important. If you didn't write it, then don't. Though. In terms of the AI writing articles, I think it's fine if it's like news stories, like little evergreen news stories, because there's no really emotion that comes from that. And, being a writer that, is pressed for time a lot, something like that would probably be beneficial, like to me, with his news articles and things like that, where it's just hard facts and hard news, 300 words, 250 words, I think that's fine. But when talking about books and autobiographies and, memoirs and, actual stories and stuff like that, creations, like I don't really necessarily believe in that, because there's no emotional component to it, regardless of how you feel about AI, artificial intelligence, they don't have a heart, they don't have a soul, so it's kind of like, where is this story coming from? What does it mean to the writer? It's not even a writer. The thing isn't really real like that though. But I think it's cool for like hard news, hard facts. I don't really mind it with that. When you talk about stories too, I don't really necessarily agree with it, but it kind of also depends what the story is about as well too, because I think just the world that we in, where we're living in a world of convenience. I don't have to get out and go to McDonald's anymore. I could just DoorDash, they get delivered to my door, like stuff like that. So I don't mind the necessary like convenience of it all though. But as a writer, work that I put in, you know, my things I do, a painter that work I put in my feel disrespectful and disingenuous. This robot that was on my way was getting more money, you know, more value than I would on mine, you know. So that's just me, from my standpoint.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I think the biggest thing I have a problem with is like right now there's a gray area where you don't have to make the distinction, right? And I think the time is coming in the future where that's gonna happen, but I think like a year is gonna go by before that happens. If it does, anyways. Like I see a world where stuff that we do becomes a very, very high price commodity. You know, real time taking to paint art, real time taking to write a book, but there's gonna start. I feel like there needs to be almost like how the plagiarism system is in place, like made with Chat GPT. Like it should be a watermark or something, bro. You can't just be sitting over here letting this dude pump out thousands of things, posting them all on like blog posts and stuff like that, and then acting like I did that. Like, you know, you didn't do it. And maybe I'm old school like that, dog, because I feel like it takes the soul out of it. The stuff can make sense, but it's not gonna connect. That's what I feel like the missing part gonna be. You can pump just like we talking about music, it's all the same kind of thing. Once you take the real person out of it, where you were sitting there struggling with the creative process, really thinking, that's what people like, I think sometimes don't realize, even about what I call deliberate self-improvement. Like, you know, people want like adults without the work, but I read a book a long time ago where they say the process is more important than the product. Like what you become during the becoming is more important than what you achieve at the end. You know, the journey is the process. You know, like I'm connected to Remix Broke, and it connects with people so much. Like, you know, I got like nothing but 5-star reviews on Amazon, not because like I'm bragging enough. What I'm saying is I'm happy about that because people talk to me. They're like, man, I'm not really a reader, but you held my attention. The story connected with me. I could understand what you're saying. And that's because soul to soul, I realized as an author from the very beginning, it's my responsibility to hold your attention, right? Like financial information, I'm like, man, this stuff is kind of boring. So how can I get it to the average reader? How can I get it to my people, right? I'm like, I know they got TV, I know they got the phone, I know they got all this other stuff. I got to put a story with this because I need to hold their attention while they come through and get the knowledge. You know what I mean? So it took my effort to be like, I got to be a novelist and a writer, you know, and I had never been either. But the beautiful part is, you know, divine intervention, because it was coming from that authentic place, I was able to do it. Of course, I needed an editor after because I'm not really that grammatical and stuff, but the story and everything like that was all a authentic idea. And just to touch on what you said about, you know, the people who are too kind of busy to write, I didn't mean to be or come off as like disrespectful to people who need to go through that process. Yeah, everyone, I wasn't either. But I think the greater point I was trying to make was that not those people, but some others just want to be an author in name only, right? Like they might have really had an authentic story to tell that they couldn't write. I'm talking about people who just buy the clout, you know, or right now about to get Chat GPT to write them a whole digital book, and they be like, "This is my book." You know, nah, dog, I don't respect that it didn't take a couple hours or at least a day or 2 or 3 if you super fast with it. I don't respect the process. I'm not about to feel the process in that. You know, that's what's really going to connect with me, whether the words make sense or not.
I agree.
You know.
So tell me, how long did it take you? This is like a quick little pickup. Like, how long did it take you to write your book, man? Like how long from point A to point Z?
All right, so to write it, it took me really 4 years to write it, because 2013, 2014, 2015, what really was happening was just like a hell of brainstorming, and I was kind of capturing stuff as I was learning it, right? Like as I was, because I got to the point where I was like, all right, I got to write the book, I got to put a story with it. So I started like trying to create it in my brain. Like, how can I Like, how can I do each topic? Okay, well, maybe each topic I have a mentor, and then he can like go on a journey to meet the person. So I had to like come up with the character names, character personality. So I was just using like an app called Evernote to just continuously capture my thoughts for like a year, you know? Then I started to just kind of like write chapters, long form. I really wrote a lot of my book like a text message. Like I would type it in one hand. Like I didn't like sit down in front of the computer. Like I'd be wherever I was, like typing, like, you know what I'm saying, just typing it up. And then I started writing. I probably got to chapter like 1, 2, and 3, and then I had like took a break because I like moved to Atlanta, all the stuff like that, right? So I'm bringing my sons back for visitation while I'm living in Atlanta, and Marcus in the back seat, man, he got to be maybe 10, and all he says is, "Dad, you should finish writing your book."
Yeah, them kids will get it
Like,
out, man. They
bro,
put stuff in
like,
perspective, you know.
so from that point on, bro, I wrote the rest of that book in 3 months. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't sleeping. I was staying up late. I was like sending a chapter to my sister after I finished writing it. Like, what you think? Sending something to my mama, sending something to you, sending something like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what y'all think about this? All right, keep going, keep going. And I'm still going and going, like talking to my friends and showing them the book and like, you know, doing that. And then the greatest part was when I finished, I had it probably for like a month and I just didn't even know what to do. I didn't know how to get it published. And I was so focused on writing, I didn't even know how to get published. I was like, damn. So I'm going to these business meetings, you know, like I said, the rooms and the meetings and stuff. And I'm sitting down with a guy who was like like a really great friend of me, but he's like 20 years older than me. Man, I don't know that old, but maybe 15. Older white gentleman. We sitting down, and after we would go to the meeting, there was like a Whataburger right across the street from the hotel. So almost at night we be going for the weekend, stay there 2 days, learn the stuff about real estate and things in the daytime. So we all at Whataburger at night chilling. And I'm sitting there with him, and everybody else kind of leaving stuff, and it's just me and him left. And I'm like, bro, I wrote a gangster book. Like, it's fire, and there's nothing like it out there. But I don't know how to get it published. He was like, for real? I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, send it to me, and I'll see, you know, what it is, and we'll figure something out from there. I'm like, all right. So I emailed it to him. Man, I see him next morning in the hallway at the hotel, and he was like, yeah, let's get it done. I'm like, what? He was like, I read it last night. He was like, it's that fire. Let's figure out what we need to do. And so then it took another like probably year to edit it right, put the notes sections in for me to pull out, because I just had it straight written. And they had the ideas to be like, it needs a note section. It also needs the key points at the end of each chapter so that a person doesn't have to remember all the stuff they read. They can read it through and then be like bullet points. So go back and figure out all that. I had to get the cover art done. And then finally we did publication. I had to pay for the publication, like front loaded. Then a book, they give you books and stuff. But it's a great process, man. It was, you know, it was a journey, but it still continues to bless people to this day. And, you know, I still have like great experiences with people, you know, as they come up to me, and sometimes I give them away for free, you know, when I meet people, especially young people. I'm like, here, man, go be a millionaire. Catch this right now at 17, 18, 19. Be a beast, bro, you know, for real. So let me ask you this. Let's talk about some of your favorites. Like, let's talk about some of your favorite like arts. Like, I want to talk about some, and you want to talk about some. We're just gonna kind of go, you know, some music, some visual arts, some movies, some writing. You know what I mean? So let's kind of start with music. Like, what are some of your favorite
Jazz,
music?
of course, because that was actually the first art form I was exposed, you know, being from New Orleans. So like definitely jazz. I like, you know, Charlie Parker, Thelonious Monk, you know, Miles Davis, Coltrane, Kermit Ruffins, the Marcellus family. You know, it's just growing up on them, and you know, Dizzy Gillespie stuff like. And it's just interesting too because jazz is the only true American art form. So you know, everything else kind of comes from another place, and you know, it's just amazing these horns and these sounds, how they can give you a certain emotion with there's no words to it either, you know. And I think that's really a beautiful thing, you know, hearing a piano or, you know, hearing a string or a chord and everything. And it's just, you know, I don't know if I necessarily would love it that much if I wasn't from New Orleans, but I think I would, because it's a beautiful form of art. I'm not really a big, contemporary jazz often, you know, like you know, disrespect to like, you know, your Kenny G's and David Sam, like they just don't really do it for me as much as, you know, you know, the who's who in the 50s and the 60s and 70s, and you know, the Marcellus family and everything like that. But yeah, and I like I listen to a lot of, a lot of old school, cause my mother, there's a saying we have in the South, we come from old parents, and my mother was a little older when she had me. My father was older when he had me too. So the music I was exposed to at a young age was different from a lot of my friends, not too different, but, it was just, it was more instilled in me these older records and everything like that. So I kind of developed an affinity for it. And then even now, I listen to like a lot of, early 90s R&B, early 90s hip hop and all that stuff. Because that's what really, or, because of my upbringing, one, and then just the type of music that I like. A Tribe Called Quest, because they put a lot of jazz. Q-Tip used to put a lot of jazz in his beats and everything like that. Pete Rock and CL Smooth, again, that's another artist. But, I like it. Kendrick, Cole, DMX, Nas, Hov, Wayne, the Hot Boys, Free BG, T.I. It's so many great artists, man, and they all have a story to tell too. It's just interesting hearing their stories because it's a whole nother region, but some of my experiences might be the same. So I'm a big fan. Be able to chase their passion and like do what they want to do and not have to do no dumb shit to get money. So I just think it's dope. Sorry for curse too. I don't know if I could curse on this or nothing like
that. She already know. You already know how we get down. I'm just trying to act professional. Yo, what we get started here? We got now I was about to ask somebody. I was about to tell the group, please put your favorites in there. She said somebody
like
do you rock
that's
Slum
my
Village?
favorite member of the group. I think he's the best lyricist. But I think the whole group is dope. But I like Elzai the most out of Slum Village. So yeah, I listen to them too, for sure.
Yeah, man, I think it's hard for me to kind of pinpoint like favorite music. I know people say it all the time, like, oh, like everything, But I don't know if I like everything. Like I ain't about to rock with some bluegrass, you know what I mean? But but I can say there's times when like, I listen to classical music. I listen because I used to play saxophone, man. Well, I still can play, but because I used to play saxophone, instrumental is really good to me. Like, I mean, everybody already know I was a drum major in the band. Like I played saxophone from 3rd grade all the way to 12th grade. Like I really love music. It's to the point where I forget till I see some sheet music that I can read music. You know what I mean? Yeah, I just be chilling because I don't really do it that much anymore. But if I'm like at the school and somebody got their sheet music, I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like I could just see. And so my kids really got put on to like instrumental music because of me. I listen to it in the car. Even now, if I hop in the car right now, my radio station on a jazz station. Because I like saxophone music. I really do. You know what I mean? Like I like Kenny, but I like Kenny not because of his technique, but just because it's saxophone music. You know what I mean? I just like saxophone. And but I love Old Cash Money. I just think it has an authenticity to it. And it also has like a playfulness to it. Like, all right, yeah, like, it's about gangster rap and stuff like that, but all them dudes still alive. Like, it's different from how this like quote unquote like drill music is now, where people trying to kill each other and stuff like that. I'm like, bro, you don't have to prove it that hard, dog. Like, just pretend. Everybody be pretending. Like, Jay-Z still alive, a billionaire with his wife, but he used to sell drugs and he'll shoot you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it don't have to be that serious, dog. Just make some music, bro. But I can say, even now, I see my son, like I say, he listens to this artist named Babytron. When I listen to his lyrics, he actually got some good lyrics, and he be having some old references in there that I'm like, man, if I never would have taught you some stuff, you wouldn't even be he be talking about the old school Pistons. He'll like say something about Stockton. He'll say something about Star Wars, and in his lyrics, and I'm like, man, hold up. Like, if you wasn't with an older person, you might not even catch some of these. Like, bro, this the other day, he was like doing his laundry, and he was listening to some Babytron, and the dude was like, I'm flying Lando Calrissian. And I was like, you just rap that verse, but you ain't like, who's Lando? And he was, yeah, Billy D. I'm like, come on, man. What do you, he was like, oh, that's the black dude from, I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, I'm like, yeah, right. Bro, if you watch some old Star Wars with your pops, you've been a lyric in your dudes rapping, So I think everybody, if you self-expressing, is coming from a a good place and you could kind of connect with their music no matter what they're doing. Because even some country songs be good. You know what I mean? You just might not be of that culture, but if the music, or like if you, I think what's cool sometimes about music is you can go to that place with them, right? Like if an artist is singing about their heartbreak, or like I said, in a country song, somebody talking about like, riding on a Sunday in their truck going down the road trying to go by the girl house or something. Like you may never live that life, but you could be like, oh man, almost like a movie or a story. You can go there imagination with them as they're expressing like that part of where they're coming from and making it. So I think that's awesome. So tell me about some visual art that you like. And I kind of mean like maybe painting or just like art
So I'll
museums,
say off the
statues,
top, my
things like
favorite
that.
painting is definitely the banjo lesson by Henry O. Tanner, and the reason why is because it's it's a black artist and a well-known painter. It's a father that's teaching the banjo to a boy. It could be his son, it could be his grandson, but it's a older man teaching a younger black boy how to play the banjo. And it's just special to me, because it reminds me of my father, my father, that's number one. And the print of it hung over our fireplace in New Orleans too. So it's like, it kind of resonates with me. I used to see it every day, waking up and everything. And then the original is actually at the History Museum at Hampton University. So it just always followed me throughout my life. But yeah, it was, we had the painting. It's told in that one little particular painting and everything like that. So, that's my favorite. My favorite painter is just because he is very eclectic in not only his personality but the things that I think if aliens came down and said, I want you to show me the best painter ever, I would do him, because his work is a lot of variety and style and everything. I don't really add that much, but really, he's very out of his work though too. So favorite, but I like, it's a bunch of painters and stuff I like, and artists that I like too. Like even going back to Picasso and Van Gogh and Michelangelo, and there's another gentleman. He's actually older. He's a musician and an artist. His name is Lonnie Hiley, artist too. So it's a lot of lesser known artists that I think should be highlighted too, because we all know the bigger artists, but there's so many people that have a talent, that have creativity, and again, you can see and you might not even know who was by, but it can still resonate, with you too. Because I like, this Jazz Fest painting I have behind me, beautiful. So it's just all around us too. So sometimes I think it's just unfortunate that a lot of people our age and older, younger, like that, they don't really have a affinity for art, because they don't necessarily know what they're looking at. So I like, that's why I really started about art too. I wanted to on to these galleries and these painters and this artwork and everything like that. And it's still a passion of mine. I still like doing it for that reason, more than anything. I getting paid for it. I like being able to put my friends on these people so they can be exposed to a different facet of life.
Man, I love how you put that, bro, because like I can't even say I have a favorite, just in the sense that like I'm not as well versed as maybe like I should be. And I think kind of like that comes from, it not being something, I kind of mean, in our culture that's seen as not so much normal, but like, you know what I mean? It seems like old Renaissance-y or something like that, so I'm really grateful for people who nowadays still like, these youth, and even, people in our age who pursue art. Cause like I love drawing. I even first initially went to school, college, like for art, but then I only just art class because that's all I cared about. I ain't like math and science, you know what I mean? I just would only go to art class because that's all I really do. And then I realized, I wasn't gonna make the money I wanted to make off of just what I like to do. You know what I mean? And so that kind of took me away from it. And then I just started kind of drawing like here and there for fun. I can't remember the last time I draw, but I don't even have to try. Like if I want to draw something, I can't, but I just don't, because it's not doing enough for me. So I express it differently, like in my ads and in my marketing and my business. Like I express creatively colors and schemes and stuff like that. Like I make stuff I like. And then, you know, if it's a good ad or not, it is what it is. But I make stuff I like, you know what I'm saying? Like I make a flyer for this just because I, you know, it's fun to me. But I think it's hard. And I think a lot of people who could be, you know, full blown artists and really express themselves and have a good time don't get to because they got to worry about the money. You know what I mean? How am I going to eat off of this? So it's almost like they got, you know, the society or capitalism, you know what I mean? That's why I try to, you know, write Read Mill Stay Broke, because if you could learn what to do with your money and not just so much what you, how to make it, right? Then you can make it off of whatever you want to do and then still become wealthy by investing right, saving right, getting your credit right. You know, it allows for more creative expression. But a lot of the artists that I've made, they kind of rail against, you know, capitalism, because it's like, man, I got to go get a real job. I can't be my real self, you know, and that's something I feel like is very, very unfortunate, you know. And even the artists back in the day, like I listen to Robert Greene, and I listen to Maxwell Maltz, who talks, you know, there's a book called Psycho-Cybernetics about self-image, and in that talks about Salvador Dali. Like he talks about his favorite. So that's how I even found out who that was. You know, he talks about one of his paintings as a metaphor for how we are able to use our self-image and stuff, you know. But even listening to Robert Greene, listening to the stories of somebody like a Michelangelo and things like that, they had to still impress a king or a queen or somebody enough to get the money, you know, almost like what we would call a grant now. You know, they get a commission to paint a certain thing or to create a certain statue or to paint a cathedral or something. They still had to get paid, you know. And me, I love, as far as visual arts, what I love is seeing stuff I couldn't do and wondering how that happened. I think that's the experience that I have with art. Like I went and did like one of the little paint and sip things one time, show you a little bit of how to paint like in sequence. But because I'm a drawer, right, I've always had like the ability to erase, you know, draw, erase. Oh, I don't like that, erase. Like, you know, painting, I'm like, well, I can't erase. Like, you know, I'm about to put, you know, I gotta wait left. And then I didn't never understand until I started listening about painters. Like they had to wait a couple of days. You know, like, yeah, put the foundation right here, wait, let that dry, then come back and paint over it, because if you do it now, it's gonna be wet and mixed. And it was just fascinating to me. And then even at the art museum now, they have glass blown art. You know, people have knitting. My sons are half Native American, so we went to this Native American museum, or First Americans museum, looking at all that art, like the beadwork and stuff. Like people just used to have free time, man, where they didn't have, you know, phones, computers, social media and stuff, and they could just sit outside and be creative and make beautiful things. It's just so fascinating to me to be like, I can't do that, but somebody can, and that is beautiful. Like that's what I love about going to the museum or going to an art exhibit or seeing a piece of art, especially painting. I think it confuses me the most in technique of imagining how it's possible, you know.
Just say about your paint sip experience too. I think painting in general is a good metaphor for life. You know, when you're going through life and you making these mistakes and learning, you can't just go back and erase the shit. You gotta just, you know, have that experience. It's there. You know what I'm saying? You gotta move from it. You can't necessarily change. You know, that's why I think painting is good too, because it's a great metaphor for life and the thing that we go through in life too.
Man, see some of them super detailed paintings like at the art museum, I'm just like, wow. Like it's like 1850, 1853, and it's like the most perfectly painted. And like that's what I mean when I'm talking about, you know, they just showed a little while ago, you know, AI created art, and I even follow a page, I think it's called like Odyssey something, like Mystic Odyssey something on Instagram, where like this AI keeps putting out like all this different 3D art imagery, you know. And I look at it and I'm just like, bro, you know, that wasn't hard for you, you know. And that's what just makes it like, I don't care. It's cool to look at, you know, but I'm like, I don't care, because like it did, like you said, it didn't take you no time. Like when this man was in 1850 making this Mona Lisa or this thing that's still here today, like Buddy was really sitting there like with a candle. You know what I'm saying? Like crushing up to make the black and like get the fruit or something to mix around to make this color. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like, oh, I'm gonna go to the art store. Like, dude really was up there with the little easel joint with the thumb in it. You know what I'm saying? Getting busy, and the person was really sitting there like, cause it's not like how it is. It's not like, oh, let me look at a picture or let me pull it up on my phone. Like, nah, dog, I need you to be here and look. And what's crazy is, like I said, listening to Robert Greene and stuff, I want to say it was Leonardo da Vinci, but he started working with cadavers, right? And taking apart like the bodies and looking at the muscle tissues in the face and looking at the bone structure and stuff. And people didn't know that he was doing that. So that's what gave his paintings like so much more realness, because he dove so deep into what the human muscle configuration was actually like, that when he went back to paint a face or to paint something, he could look underneath. He could think about the bone structure, the skull, the skeleton, how the body would naturally sit and naturally move, and it gave it like that deeper level that you couldn't even imitate, because you wasn't on that level of understanding. You know what I mean? All right, I can go on all day. Next time, what's your favorite movies? Because, man, I have recently discovered about myself, one, I knew I loved movies, but I've recently discovered that through some of my recreational YouTube watching, that I love movie critique videos that talk about like the storytelling or how the story was written, or where the fallacy was, or where there was a plot contrivance. You know what I mean? Like the story part of the film. But I remember when I was younger, my dad didn't have cable. So when I would go visit him for my summer visitations and stuff, I'm sitting there, I'm like, bro, there's 100 DVDs and no cable. So like, that's how I became a movie person. Like, that's how I watched like Speaker, Negotiator, like all these movies. And I've been kind of like a movie person kind of ever since, you know. But what's your favorite like movie or like a TV show as well? So let's do movie and TV shows.
Like, I always, and
like,
this is funny too, like out of all the movies I like, the only movie that I can really sit there and watch over and over again and don't get old is Forrest Gump. You know, like I think that was I think it's an underrated, it's not, but it is though, just in terms of, you know, I think people give a goofy connotation to it too sometimes, you know what I'm saying? You know, growing up, my mom used to like to watch like the Golden Globes and the Emmys and the Oscars a lot. So you know, The Usual Suspects and like LA Confidential. You know, I like the movie Seven with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. Yeah, I like psychological thrillers. You know, I like action films. I'm a real big James Bond buff. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's probably my favorite movie character. You know, I like the Mission Impossible series. You know, I like, you know, I watched a lot of like white comedy. Feel like, I don't know, white people are funny to be like, you know, your Will Ferrell, your Vince Vaughn, and like those kind of goofy comedy stuff. Like I enjoy watching that too. You know, so it's kind of really eclectic, just with my, you know, same thing with my personality. That's the type of movies I like watching. You know, I was watching Money Talks the other day, but you know, it's you know, and I like Marvel films, but I'm not really like a huge fan. I don't watch it like that. But I think they're very, you know, entertaining and everything like that. But if I could pinpoint a genre, I probably like psychological thrillers, you know, like those type of films. Those are my favorite type of films to watch, though.
I feel like I'm right there with you on that psycho. Like I like like you said, like something like a Seven. My favorite TV show is Law and Order SVU. You know, I'm so happy when Elliot came back. Now he got his own spinoff show. You know what I'm saying? Me and my sister really connect on Law and Order SVU. But like, you know, like movies like The Negotiator. Like my favorite movie of all time is Ghostbusters 2. But that's because my dad took me to see that movie when I was like 4, and until I was like 15, that was like the only movie I ever saw with him, because he was gone. You know what I mean? So that used to sit with me, you know, when nigga watch that by himself. You know what I'm saying? Like sit at home, like, oh man, watch some Ghostbusters and remember that time. That was, you know, as time goes on and stuff, I really do enjoy, you know, just a good story, man. I remember I saw the last Star Wars movie that came out, and I remember like leaving out that movie super underwhelmed. Like I was like, I hate this, because there was so many things that should have happened that didn't happen. And I think that's when I really caught that I'm that kind of person about movies, right? What I mean is, at the end of that movie, the way that it, first of all, they brought the old bad guy back from like, you know, the one that was like number 6, right? Like there was 4, 5, 6. You know, the Emperor died. They got 1, 2, 3. Show how a boy became Darth Vader. Then they got 5, 6, 7. And like Disney took over, and you know, ever since Disney kind of took over Star Wars and Marvel and stuff like that, I think like Black Panther and maybe like the new Spider-Man movie, like the only things that was good ever since like Disney took it over. You know, they did Infinity Wars, they did Endgame, that was good. But ever since it got to be like, okay, now y'all start making y'all own stuff, gotten very just kind of how music was too, or like just the thing about, not music in general, but the thing that we were talking about in music where it's like we're making music for the clicks, for the views, for people to try and listen more than we're making like an authentic story. Like the movie started being the same way. It started being like we're trying to include all this stuff in it to please everybody instead of writing a good story that takes you away from who you are, and you don't get to like have an opinion about it. You don't get to like audience inform. Like, you know, it started becoming, instead of somebody really sitting down and writing a story or something adapted from a book, it started being like, let me poll the audience for the amount of ticket sales we're going to do. And let me try and put a little drop in here for everybody. So that way, and it actually backfired now because the story's no good. Even though I see myself or I'm represented in everything, it's like, it's still not good, you know? And when it came to the Star Wars movie, I really liked Star Wars. So when it got to the point at the end, I'm like, okay, this could have ended way differently. Like all the old Jedi ghosts could have came and like helped her. Like, you know, it could have been so much of an epic ending, and it was just super, super flat. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of stuff is kind of becoming like that nowadays, where like we have to be able to get back to this attitude, I feel like, of everything ain't for everybody. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like everything ain't for everybody. So I know the money is involved. It's the same thing I was kind of talking about capitalism with the art. It's like sometimes when, you know, society comes with everything being corporate or getting bought or being an intellectual property that you could sell. Like you said, artists selling their catalogs and Marvel selling their, you know, studio to Disney, and Lucasfilm selling their, you know, stuff at $2 billion to Disney. Like you selling off, and it's becoming like a product instead of, you know, art, you know, and it's taking away the ability to be like, okay, I don't like Arby's, I like McDonald's. I don't go to Arby's and be like, say, bro, y'all should start making regular sandwiches. You know what I mean? I don't go to Bell and be like, it's discriminating that you don't have barbecue ribs. You know, I just go to the barbecue rib place. I don't feel like everything got to be for everybody. And I think in film and TV now, that's kind of starting to happen, where it's like you can't just make it anymore just to make it. It has to have this like, how many customers can I potentially reach? And like they say in anything, if your audience is everybody, your audience is nobody. You know,
I mean, you know, like money kind of that's with everything though. If you think about it, like with, you know, with music and with, you know, entertainment and with art and everything like that, a lot of times, not necessarily the creator, but sometimes the gatekeeper, you know, they'll be like, you know, we need to change what you're doing because it's not going to sell. You know, like you need to alter this because it's not going to sell. So a lot of these movies, sometimes, and this music that we hear, when we're talking about the beginning of the conversation about, you know, music from the 2010s and 2020s, sometimes it's not the artist's entire vision. You know, maybe it's, you know, the producer and the record label and this A&R, you know what I mean? So that vision kind of gets diluted, but that's what, you know, to sell records and to get money and all that stuff. So it definitely does dilute the product. But I think it's better now, you know, when you have your streaming service, your SoundCloud, you know, artists can, you know, do direct to consumer, where I think it's good because their vision is theirs, but also too, it's also a con because, you know, there's a lot of good music that don't come out too, you know, because anybody can be a rapper, anybody can be an actor, you know, anybody can, you know, do and all that stuff. So the quality isn't the best sometimes because it's just, you know, it's so much stuff coming out, you know what I'm saying? It's hard to kind of, you know, sometimes pinpoint what to watch because you be overwhelmed, you know, or what to buy or what to listen to. You be overwhelmed, you know, because there's so much coming out. But, you know, again, what you were saying about the movie and stuff like that too. Yeah, a lot of the movies have definitely changed because it's all about the dollar. You know, they spend millions of dollars, you know, filming and recording this movie. You know, so it's like, and you a businessman too, so you understand too. Business standpoint, you know, you want to, you know, recoup what you paid for too. You know, so I think there's an element of that, you know, because, but as a creator, I'm always for the artist, always for the creator. I want, you know, their vision and their creation to be what I see, or be what is put out. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, cream rises to the top. If it's good, people are gonna find it. People are gonna see it. People are gonna buy it. People are gonna look for it. You know, so don't need to be censored, but I do like the fact that, you know, sometimes, you know, good stuff can come out because there's a filter. You know, a lot of music and a lot of things, there's no filter anymore. So I think that's the kind of so much stuff coming out too.
I wish like somebody would be more like, you know, they have people who are like, I guess, philanthropists or philanthropic, like they give to certain causes. I wish people who just bought art experiences for other people so that we can have them in the culture. Like somebody just pay for somebody who's a good artist to like out an album, but give them the freedom to be able to be like, make the music you want to make, and we're still gonna like market it out there, but it's not really deterring a profit. This is like a part of charity for me. You know, like even when it comes to like a movie or something, like they want to make a film that they kind of like and then bring it back to life the way that real film would be. You know, I think that's like almost the only way that we still could get good stuff. You know, I think, you know, Matt Damon, I was listening to an interview. Like I said, I like to watch a lot of stuff about movies and film because I think it just goes back to storytelling. Like I like, you know, storytelling and following a good story and writing a good story. And I like the story part of movies, you know. And so he was saying that what really changed the movie industry actually was streaming for the worse, right? It has a better sense, I guess, of like more people being able to make stuff, like more people being able to like almost like artists getting signed to a label, like somebody can make a movie and like go to Netflix and stuff and like make it so where they could get out there. But his example was back when he used to make something like The Talented Mr. Ripley, right? Or movies like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days with uh, Matthew McConaughey and your girl, right? Like those kind of, you know, movies that J-Lo used to make in the 90s, like, you know, movies that was just like, this is a type of genre. Like, you know, it was not designed to make a lot of money. It was like, this is a type of movie that's being made, you know, just to tell this story, right? He was saying that in the 90s and the 2000s, and before that, you kind of had a double profit stream. You had the movie release in the theater, and then you had the DVD sales. He was like, so if somebody spent, you know, 50 mil on a movie, then 50 mil on the marketing, and it was in for 100, right? When they go to the theater, it do the box office. They got to split the box office profits 50-50, or like, you know, a certain kind of split with the movie theater. But then they get to do the distribution, you know, of the DVD. And now you got a double time you was going to hit. Boom, boom. He was like, now that's gone, right? Now, you know, it's a $3.99 rental on Amazon or a $19.99 buy on Amazon, and you ain't even really got to buy it. You could just kind of wait it out, watch other stuff till it go down to be free. I see stuff. I see Disney stop doing something that they used to do. Like during COVID, they was dropping movies, and I was laughing because I was like, bro, that model not gonna work. Like, I think I can't remember what movie it was, but they dropped, I think like Riverboat with The Rock, you know, and then like other movie. When they first dropped it, it was like they dropping it on whatchamacallit, but they was charging 30 bones. About to buy that? Yeah, ain't no, yeah, I like, you know, and I see, and they stopped doing it. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't working. Nobody about to pay no $30 for that. But I think also it has like a, you know, a kind of messed up effect in the sense, like, you know, everything got pros and cons, but it's got kind of like the little messed up effect where, like he said, it reduces the profits. And then, you know, somebody said they completely agree. I'm so overwhelmed by what's coming out. I just keep rewatching and listening to the classics, like for real, you know. And then Lauren said, you know, everything is becoming so censored. It's true, you know. Like I said earlier, I feel like there's gonna be a proliferation here in a little while where this is the world I hope for. And I thought about this the other day. with all this automation and with all this AI and everything like that, it really should come to a point where we really don't have to do nothing. We should just be able to live at some point, right? There should, for real, there should be some Bitcoin. There should be some automation. There should be some, like, we should stop need to compete if we're going to have so much convenience that computers should do stuff. It shouldn't really be almost like no poor people no more. Like, people should be able to access a way for them to like have an AI that invests in some stocks and make a little bit of cash. Like, it don't have to be no universal basic income. Like, let the bot run it, you know, but it's still going to be a couple of greedy people where they mentality is all based on being over other people. You know, when we have a society coming up where everybody get a little robot, everybody get a little chat GPT, everybody get a little stock bot, you know what I mean? And you just have your little Bitcoin and you just live in the digital world, and, or, you know, everybody's kind of have access to something, because there's going to come a point where it's going to be like a tipping point. One of my favorite lines that I use when I see some of these weird stories about like gun having robot dogs for the police, or, you know, human robots, or, you know, chat GPT, I always go back to Jurassic, where your boy be like, your scientists were so eager to see if they could, they never stopped to think if they should, you know? It's like, at that point, it's like, dog, you know, maybe we should chill out, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe we should just say, huh? My bad, I was waving to somebody who just came in the group. But, all right, let's move to writing. So, books. I did not know that I was going to be such a lover of books until I listened to my first audiobook when I was like 17. I got to, go ahead.
End up reading it maybe like 3 like teenage, you know what I'm saying? I think formats, that audio jump, a little disc, so I read this story, but it's like memoirs, you know, financial literacy books, you know, because I feel like how kind of knows after I was reading, I learned from everything. Exercise, and I listen to
Nah, but that's such a beautiful memory, because that's kind of where I was going to go with it. Like, I remember when I was 17, I found the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People on disc. It was like 12 discs, bro. The big old, you only could listen to it on CD. And I remember listening to it and started having like these epiphanies, you know, like about, like I said, that's the book where I got the process is more important than the product from, you know, where I started learning about putting first things first. It was like, it wasn't so much self-help. I think people get confused, you know, because that's like kind of the business that I'm in now with consulting, deliberate self-improvement. We, in our like upbringing, like making yourself better than the circumstance when you were in a circumstance wasn't like a taught model of problem solving. You know what I mean? It was like, where to hook up, who gonna help you, who gonna teach you, so on and so forth. So young as I was, when I was listening to this stuff, I was like, yo, bro, like, I can't keep this to myself, because this really gonna put us up on game. So if you was getting in the car with me to ride somewhere, I'm like, all right, look, don't trip. We're not about to listen to music. I just want you to feel. You know what I'm saying? And it was really weird back then, right? To be like, bro, we're about to listen to this old white man talk about this book. Like, this, what is this, you know? But when you read that book, like, that's the type of stuff I was on when I was really young. And that's kind of like why I am the way I am. And another thing about it was it affirmed me, right? When I listened to that book, I was like, okay, low key, this is how I get down. I just never knew how to express it. I didn't know this is what I was doing, you know? Like, for instance, visualization, right? I knew I wanted to be a drum major around the 8th grade. You feel me? And you feel me? So I'm doing 2 things that I don't even know I'm doing. I'm giving affirmations, right? I'm visualizing. I'm setting a goal, right? These were things I was doing, but I was doing them because I had been inspired to become something, right? Like, that taught me long-term goal setting, but I didn't realize that that's what I was doing. So then when I got to be like 17 and I read and listened to that book, I was like, wow, like, that's how that happened. And that's how I kept trying to make other things happen, even what I'm doing right now. Like, I have a vision for collective success, right? I've reached out to my friends. We're talking, we're building. I have conversations with people, but I could see it in my mind bigger than it is right now. You know what I mean? Like, I knew I wanted to write Read Me or Stay Broke. I remember, like, it's in the world right now, but that really was an idea in my brain that came to be something that's real that you could touch. You know what I mean? And that's what I love about, to me, like certain kind of books. I think sometimes because people really have never cracked open a self-help book, or never cracked open like a brain book, or even like a financial education book. Like I'm gonna say this in a funny way, but when people used to ask me, what are you doing like to get better and stuff, I said, man, I read books by old white men for other old white men, because they write stuff kind of in a bragging way, or like, in a detailed way to each other, almost like kind of for approval, to see how smart I am. But because I never even exposed to it, I'm like, oh man, what is this about money, and that about this, and this about that, and that about the brain, and this is about, the parts of your mind and your brain. I'm like, dang, bro, like, we going through high school, we not getting no finance 101, we getting no psychology. So you coming out 18, 17 years old into the world, you don't know how to properly use, huh? Right? Yeah. And like in your first year of college, you might get some psych 101. You might get some fine. Like, it's different now because you got social media and stuff. But even now, people just dishing out like them little sound bites. You still don't know how to do it. You just hearing like, people saying stuff that they heard to sound cool. Did you know you could do this with your mortgage? You know what I'm saying? Or like, do you, I'm like, man, move, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, really stop trying to, shine. But my overall point was just like books in general have really done something different for my life, man. And I try to teach my kids. I got a big bookshelf in the front room. I got my books behind me. I got 400 audio books on Audible. And all I can say is like, man, it's low key a superpower, bro, to 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 get smarter, bro. Uh-huh. Yep. Mm-hmm. I think it's just and we're writers, man. Like, I never thought I'd have been a writer, Um, but I love sharing information. I love helping, teaching, like, and it's crazy because you mix it in with business, and I've had to try and find this little area that's like comfortable but uncomfortable. If I'm being like, 100%, I hate having to be like intentionally persuasive when I just want to express myself. You know what I mean? I wish it was easier to make people buy stuff by them seeing the apparent value, as opposed to having to like write some persuasive copy, or to write keywords, or the right tagline, or you know what I mean? Sometimes you just want to be able to share from an authentic place and really help people. And that's the balance I'm always seeking, is how to be like a good businessman without being, what you're supposed to be taught, like in school, because school is very detached. Like, I remember when I was in macroeconomics class, and I remember I found a word that made me feel more mad than the N word. And the word was consumer, right? That made me so mad. In microeconomics class, and they're talking about customers. They're talking about people. They're talking about, you know, real people. But the way that, you know, these old empirical, as they will call it, marketing and management, you know, guys are coming up with stuff, you know, in the 20s and 30s and all this business management crap, in order to detach from having to consciously think about the human part of the people you're trying to sell to. You just change the word to a consumer. So now you're thinking about some mindless avatar, almost like a mannequin at the mall, and now you can just say whatever you want to those people with no respect for their brains, with no respect for their consciousness, with no respect for their individual choices. You know, it's just buy my stuff because I want your money. I'm gonna convince you into it. You know, and I think the thing that made me the most mad too was I really like the brain. Right? I really love learning about the mind. I love learning about thought processes and the brain. And the more I learned, right, the more I started getting pissed off that people who knew was using that on people who didn't know, and then making their marketing a certain way. Like, I really don't let my kids watch commercials, you know? And sometimes it's hard for me to make my own commercials because I want to just be real. I just want to be like, you know, hey man, I got something for you. And come peep it. It's really cool. I hope you like it when you get over here and you want some more. That's how I want to say it, right? But you know how you gotta come on the thing, you gotta cut through the noise, right? Everybody else got ads, so you gotta come on there. Hey, it's Mark Jackson, and bro, I hate that, bro. I really do. And trying to find that balance of where I can capture your attention, but still kind of be myself and feel like you want to come instead of like I talked you into it is a continuous journey, bro. It's never so much to like I know I'm not trying to scam nobody. So the first good thing is like I know that my shit is real. Remix stay broke, like all my stuff, these conversations right here, like I know that I'm not selling no BS. I look at other people and gets on my nerves in my field, online marketing, real estate. You know what I'm saying? I watch people who sell kind of like certain same things or certain kind of knowledge bases. And I feel like they're just trying to shortcut the process, you know, imposters or whatever. Like they're just trying to hit a lick, you know? And so I know I don't have that problem. You know what I mean? I don't have an internal issue of wondering if I'm coming from a real place. What I'm saying is, and what I've done is I just continue to try and find that balance. I don't know how to describe it to you. It's like the balance between trying to play your way and then play inside of the way the coach is telling you to run the plays. You feel? You kind of never come to the place where you know you're doing it. You're just always trying to score in the most, you know, way that feels fun to you, as well as what he's trying to tell you to do in the offensive system. So it's like I understand. That's if I could pivot, that's why I teach read me or stay broke the way I teach it, right? A lot of times people talk about like the black dollar or pooling the black dollar or like pooling black wealth. And we had $2 trillion in spending. It's like, bro, low key, that's an embarrassment, bro. Like if you see somebody say, look, black people spent $2 trillion last year. That's our buying power. If we were to just pool that wealth, what could we do? It's like, no, bro. They didn't say you spent $2 trillion on investing, bro. They say you the easiest customer, dude. You know what I'm saying? You the person that's gonna get rid of your money the fastest. You see what I'm saying? So it's like in that type of mentality, it makes me want to share like the knowledge of being able to say, okay, we get their money and then we see the way the system is structured. If we use the system the way that it's designed, we can profit through the system. But sometimes people don't have the access to how the system is run. That's why I wrote Real Estate Broke. You know, we get out here and we getting a job, getting an education, getting a loan, getting a student loan, and all that stuff like that. And they're showing us like the American dream, right? When really, that's really not the dream. The dream is what they living in secret. What they living in secret is they got high credit scores. They have the ability to take out loans. They're starting LLCs for like $100 something. They're buying trusts for like $150, $200. They have lawyer friends, real estate friends, right? So they're getting like this structure of protecting their finances and protecting themselves from lawsuits, buying assets that produce money and passive income inside of these sheltered entities like an LLC and trust and things like that. And then they're using their income to then fund those things so that now they're making money regardless of whether they're working or not, right? That's the real American dream. But what they sell you is go to school, go to college, get the loan, get out of college while you're young, take an entry-level position, buy all this stuff on loans, get a crib on loan, get a car on a loan, you got your student loans, get you some credit cards because you ain't making enough yet. And then you wind up being, 75, 80 G's in debt, and you're 25 years old. You see what I'm saying? And they're telling you, hey, that job's gonna catch that back. And then you losing your job, and you got COVID, and you getting layoffs. But the beautiful thing for them is that personal debt that they sent you down, trying to tell you to get the American dream, continues to make you a constant employee. And as long as you're an employee, the people who are benefiting get to make you their tenant, get to make you their borrower, and get to make you their taxpayer. You know what I mean? And so now they're making more assets for themselves. And so what I wanted to do was try to teach how that is occurring. And the secret was, because there's anti-discrimination laws, the only discrimination now is the knowledge and the money, right? If you don't qualify, you can't do these things. If you don't know, you can't facilitate them. But if you can have the knowledge and you can have the understanding, then the financial discrimination barrier is broken and you can take advantage of how the system works. And then now, yes, our black dollars or your dollars in any race are working right because you see what's going on in the environment. You know what I mean? If that, I hope that makes sense. Man, I appreciate it, man, like, speechless, bro. Like, I really just thank you, man. Because, like, nah, it's just real, you know? And that's why I wanted to have you on, too, man. Because, we represent, the same thing, man. We 7 Ward hardheads, bro. Straight out the end of, like, to be here having this conversation, and then also, what we do in the world and what we're going to continue to do in the world. It's so cool to, like, circle back and, think about, those times and, how we even came to be where we are now, bro. And I just appreciate you, dog. I think, the biggest thing I try to do is I just try to find this balance where, like, I try to solve all my problems with becoming better than my problems. You know what I mean? Even if it take a long time. Even like I was talking to somebody the other day, and I had to realize that a lot of times in life I was having trauma, and I didn't even realize I was having trauma because my solution always been look at the problem, be like, all right, how can I fix this, and then just start going, even if it's gonna be a long time. Because I'm like, at least if I start, it's gonna be as short as possible. You know what I mean? Like if I keep looking at it, I ain't even gonna be able to, it's gonna compound itself. So I would just get to going, you know what I mean? Like even Hurricane Katrina, but I didn't even realize like I shouldn't have got married when I was 20 years old. But Hurricane Katrina didn't hit, and I'm in boot camp. But I'm in boot camp, and I'm dorm chief, I'm red rope, I'm being successful, you know what I mean? Like I'm killing it. And I'm not realizing that I'm not seeing my family. I'm sad. You know what I mean? Because I'm just still succeeding. You know, and I didn't realize that success was low key my coping mechanism. You know what I mean? Even like going to the AUG and being a drum major and stuff like that, it was like, man, you know, low key, bro. Like I used to, you know, catch the bus, bro. Like catch the RTA all the way to the east. When I stayed at my grandma's house, I still used to walk home from St. Aug with my saxophone case. I was going to St. Aug off of child support, bro. You know what I'm saying? So like you be going to school, it's like this dude's son a judge, this dude's son, you know, this man on his bank. Like, you know, all these dudes are like legit private school kids. I was just there because I wanted to be in the band and my mom did the child support. So like I used to like have an internal drive to be like, I'm a really accomplish something up in here because outside, yeah, like your mom and your daddy can help you. But like if we about to march, dog, if we about to play a horn, if we about to be, you know, student body president, so like now we on effort level. I'm about to kill you effort level, dog. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like nobody can save you from how much more willing I am to do than you. You heard? I've been getting for 20 years, bro. I'm about to come killing things come November, bro. Hell yeah. I was talking to somebody the other day, and she was talking to one of my friends, and she was like, "It's your 20-year reunion coming up, huh?" And he was like, I talked to her like 2 days ago, and she said she was talking to one of my friends who used to be a drum major with me, and she's like, "It's your 20-year, huh?" And he was like, "Yeah, yeah." She was like, "Well, you better start getting in shape because you know how Mark gonna come." You know what I'm saying? Yeah, bro. I just wanted to be the best, bro. I wanted to be the best and one of the best. And even right now, I still, people don't really notice because I do the band knows this. But for the last probably 4 or 5 years, I mentor the current drum majors. You know what I mean? In the background, like I talk to them, we have group chats, like I inspire them. I really try and tell them like what it take and stuff like that. But it's really to help them become, you know, strong leaders. You know what I mean? What it takes to kind of overcome what it takes. I think St. Aug really built me for leadership because when you're the drum major of the March of 100, you don't have any extra ways to get respect but respect. You feel me? You can't beat nobody, you can't paddle nobody, you can't kick nobody out the band, and it's 100, you know, black dudes, bro. You feel me? Like, if you ain't authentic, it ain't gonna be authentic. You know what I mean? Like you ain't getting no respect unless you got like you really get your respect. And I think that helped me out here in the real world, like you said, character wise, because you know, think about it. If you see any of my stuff about financial education, I never talk about what I have. Right? I'm never like this money, I got this much property. I never use that to authenticate my information. Right? The information speaks for itself and it coming from a person that's keeping it real. That's all I rely upon. I'm never gonna use statistics. I'm never gonna use money. I'm never gonna use like any of those things to shortcut the process of why you could trust me. You know what I mean? And I think that comes from, like I said, you know, just those days where the only thing you could rely upon, like you said, was character. So I appreciate you saying that to me because character is a big thing for me. But part of having a good character is what's understood don't gotta be said. You know what I mean? All right, I'm gonna hop into these funny stories now. Let's let's uh I mean, like the cool thing is, like, man, I just remember like those were just the days, bro. You know what I mean? Those were the days, like playing PS1, you know, coming to your house and playing basketball in the parking lot. Like, I remember learning like what real friendship was one time because we were outside playing football. You know, we used to play 2-on-2 in the street. And man, I remember I was running one time. I caught a pass, and I got clipped. You know, and it wasn't by you because me and you used to always be on teams. But I got clipped and I fell on the ground. And man, I remember like I like cut open all this part of my hand. And you know, we used to play like down the street, and I touched down was like the corner that goes to my grandma's house. You know, so yeah, so I remember falling and like scraping my hand, bro, and looking at my hand and like just the meat like hanging, bro. And I was so mad that the dude had clipped me, right? That I flicked it to you, you was the quarterback, and bro, I just was like going on a route, turned, jumped in the air, caught the TD with this hand, like it slammed into this hand, caught it, threw the ball down. It's like, and like turned the corner and went home because I was like, my head is bleeding. So, bro. And I remember going inside and like, just, my mom and my grandma helping me and stuff. And then like it was a knock on the door, And then came back to the door and like all y'all was right there. Like, dog, are you good? Like you okay? Like the game didn't just keep going on. You know what I mean? That was like my friends cared, man. You know what I mean? Like that was a good like moment for me learning about, friendship and real connection and stuff, And yeah, man, let's talk about like some of these funny times I used to come to your house. I think it was like 2 times in particular. Okay, let's talk about all right, go ahead. Who we like? Well, elementary school. Wow, we was like middle school, maybe age. What age? Okay. No, I'm pretty sure it was like 7th, 8th grade-ish kind of time. Like I'm walking out. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Oh, yeah. I didn't know. I didn't, bro, that fire big, bro. You should see your eyes. And me too. I was like, I didn't know. Yeah. Well, let's talk about the fire. Like, the flame got big. Then I tried, like, we get it out, but like now the house has like the fire smell, right? So we like try to open the windows, like we kids, like we thinking, and we got hours. We hours before mom come back, right? We got hours. Door open, slide door open, all that, right? And man, she come inside. As soon as she come inside, we think we did a good job. First thing she said was, "What burnt? What was burnt?" Dude? Like, so then, like another time, like you said, pizza rolls. I remember this so crazy. Like I was already okay. So I come in and you got pizza rolls. And I'm like, man, I want to eat some pizza rolls. And I put them on a thing. I put them on a plate. I put them in the microwave. And I swear that I pressed a minute. Like 1-0-0. That I come in the front room. I'm chilling with you, and we're just hanging out. And like next thing you know, smoke started coming out the kitchen. And I'm like, oh shit. I get up and run, bro. Nigga, I had this show in 10 minutes. I open the microwave. You know what? You're probably right. You're, you're probably right, because I was trying to make like probably 10 pizza rolls, so that it's probably gonna be like 2 minutes, but then it wound up being like 20, and then like midway cooking, like I opened the microwave, it's like poof, like big old black smoke, burnt pizza rolls. I'm like, oh my God, you're bomb. That's all I thought about, bro. Oh, no, I was. You're wild, bro. It's so funny, like learning in life to stop being that dude. Like I remember, I remember being like, I don't know, in my early 30s. It just happened to be like, bro, swinging off on everybody all the time is not working out. You know what I mean? But I've been like that ever since I was younger. Like I like boxing, I like fighting. Like I'm a fighter that's not in the profession. You know what I'm saying? I'm always in good shape. I like to lift. I like being strong. Coming up from the endo, walking around. You know what I mean? Like that's. And I was in the military too, so like just my whole nature is very like easily hand to hand combat. Like getting in a fight or getting in a confrontation with me is like sitting in a warm bath. Like I feel relaxed. Where most people are anxious. It's like how boxers are. Like you feel like in a happy place. You bring yourself to confrontation. You know what I mean? But I had to realize, after a couple of situations, my mom had to come to me and say, bro, you got to really start moving like a daddy. You can't be moving like an N-word. She's like, you got to stop doing that. You know what I mean? Because it's easy for me to have that energy, and I'm a leader too. I'm an older brother. I just have like that protector kind of mentality. And because I'm always in such physical shape, like I take it that at any moment so comfortably. You know what I mean? But I had to start being like more vocal, more verbal, more, calm and relaxed and stuff like that. But like you said, even when we was younger, you know what I'm saying? Like, your mom being inside and, like, yeah, I don't even know why I got that. I remember it. Like, I don't even remember why I got into that fight. Bro, good, good time. I think some other great times have been when I've come to visit you in Atlanta. I think to speak on friendship, I think that's a good way to wrap this up. Is you know, if you in this day and age where a lot of friendships are kind of like digital or very selfish in a like pay attention to me, followers and stuff like that. Your real relationships, like I just encourage everybody to just invest in them. You know, time, put in the effort, be vulnerable, and really try to keep your connection because we barely get to see each other, but it's like no time has passed. We are best friends. When we get on the phone, we could talk for hours. This is probably gonna be my longest Instagram live right here. You know what I mean? Because it's just like you are my dog. You feel me? And it's just a great time talking to you. And I just remember coming to Atlanta and I had been to Atlanta a lot, but kind of like as a kid. So like coming as an adult, you haven't moved there and you live there, and it's like so cool because I can still be by one of my best friends, right? Like we grew up around the corner from each other. But when I come to the A, if I'm coming for business or something like that, I can hit you up and it's like, man, we go out, we have a drink, we chop it up, talk. I remember when you were first getting your opportunities to be able to be in magazines when it was turning from doing it for free to doing it on purpose, I remember there's where I found out people started smoking like weed and like being like legalized more than where I was living. Cause I remember we went to like this one club, and that was the first time I found out about fishbowl drinks too. Like I went with you to this one L club, like we about to just hang. I'm like, oh, let's just hang out. We get in there, like, hey man, you want to get a drink? I'm like, cool. We like order 2 drinks. Then she like slide over the whole big old fishbowl. I'm like, dang, like this a new thing. Then we walk outside, and it's a real business, and it's like I don't maybe this was like 17. It had to be like 2017, and I walk outside to the patio area, and dude had a joint this long, bro. It was like two rolled into one, like two blunts rolled into one. He's passing, huh? Super long, and he would just like smoke like in the open air area of the club. And I was like, bro, ATL is like different right now. You know what I mean? Ahead of the curve before, like, you know, other places started being like, it seems so commonplace right now. But if you look back, you know, 5 years ago, they were allowing something illegal in the open area, but like no one was snitching, no one was ratting, everybody was having a good time. And I was just like, wow, you know, but having that moment, like hanging out with you, it still was like fun. It was like these evolutionary periods in life, and you know, coming down and you know, just going to Waffle House and stuff like that. It was just, you know, your birthday party. You know, that's a funny story that we probably shouldn't tell. That was funny. Huh? Good times, my brother. Well, bro, I am grateful for you being on, man. Like telling people how they could connect. Uh, Please send that to me so that I could put it in the description for this video. I want people to be able to kind of go from here and go, you know, go explore more of what you got going on. And I think it just gives such great, still real, you know, authentic opinions about things that, you know, we just need. We just need to be able to, you know, hear somebody else like, man, I went and saw this and it was really good. It was really cool. Like I seen the thing you did about the Fresh Prince, man. I was like, man, my boy is on, man. Like you know, you did the SSPs about the Fresh Prince, and I can't remember what the other thing was. Like one of the movies you like did like how everybody is now, but like one of the classic movies that we used to watch, and like. And I seen you, you know, hosting the Essence Festival this year, like having like some round tables, and I was like, man, bro, I was so proud of you, though. Like, you know, just think about it, man. It's almost like a quarterback playing in their hometown in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? It was like LeBron Cleveland championship. To see you like hosting at Essence Festival, coming from the NO, you know, it was just like, man, full circle, man. And you know, I loved it. Is there any final thoughts like you kind of want to leave with the people, like any gems you want to drop before we out? Hey, you know, bro, I appreciate you, dog. I love you, bro. Thanks for being. We gotta do this again, man. Like we'll get some cool things that's going on in the culture in the future. We'll come back and chop it up about them. You know what I mean? All right, thank you. And text me them links and stuff so when I do my description, I could add all that stuff in there for you. Yes, sir.